We all love the idea of marriage, don't we? The sparkling rings, the perfect wedding photos, the vows that sound like something out of a romantic movie. For a moment, it feels like the ultimate fairy tale ending, happily ever after. But here's the catch. Falling in love is easy. Getting married? Still pretty easy. Building a marriage that actually lasts? That's the hard part, because marriage isn't just about romance, kisses, or Instagram-worthy anniversaries. It's about teamwork, compromise, and yes, dealing with the not-so-glamorous sides of life, like bills, laundry, and arguments about who forgot to take out the trash. And the truth is, not everyone is cut out for it. Some people can make dating exciting, even intoxicating, but when it comes to building a lasting marriage, they simply don't have the foundation. Maybe it's because they avoid responsibility, maybe it's because they can't be honest, or maybe it's because they still think me instead of we. So how do you know if someone is truly marriage material or if tying the knot with them is basically signing up for heartbreak with legal paperwork? Today, we're going to talk about 7 types of people who simply can't build a lasting marriage. Recognizing them early could save you from years of frustration and maybe even a very expensive divorce lawyer. Ready to find out who they are? Let's start with the first type. At first, it feels kind of sweet. They want to know where you are, who you're with, what time you'll be home. They say things like, I just worry about you, or I only want what's best for us. And in the early days, you might even mistake that for care. But here's the truth. In marriage, a control freak isn't showing care, they're showing dominance. Slowly, their concern turns into surveillance. You're explaining why you were late, why you spent money without telling them, or why you dared to have an opinion that didn't match theirs. The problem with control freaks is they don't see marriage as a partnership. They see it as ownership. They think saying I do means signing a contract that puts them in charge of your life. And the longer you stay, the smaller your world gets. Your freedom shrinks, your voice gets quieter, and your dreams start to gather dust in the corner. Marriage requires trust, respect, and equality. But with a control freak, it becomes a dictatorship. And love cannot thrive under dictatorship, it suffocates. If you marry a control freak, your marriage won't feel like a union of 2 equals. It will feel like house arrest with matching wedding rings. So before you walk down the aisle, ask yourself, does this person trust me to be me, or do they only love me when I obey? Because a lasting marriage isn't about control. It's about 2 people choosing each other freely every single day. It usually starts with the small stuff. They tell you they were stuck in traffic, when really they just overslept. They say they'll call in 10 minutes, but you don't hear from them for hours. At first you brush it off, it's just a little lie, no big deal. But here's the problem. In marriage, those little lies don't stay little, they pile up. And soon you're not sure whether to believe their words at all. Did they really forget? Were they actually at work? Or are you just swallowing another half-truth dressed up as an excuse? The thing about chronic liars is that they can charm their way out of almost anything. They'll say, I didn't tell you because I didn't want to upset you. Sounds protective, right? But let's be honest, that's not about sparing your feelings, that's about sparing themselves. Here's why this matters so much in marriage. Trust is the foundation. If you can't believe what your partner says about the little things, how will you ever trust them with the big things like money, fidelity, or raising a family? A marriage built on lies is like a house built on quicksand. It may look fine for a while, but eventually it collapses. And when it does, it's messy, painful, and expensive. So if someone shows you they can't tell the truth consistently, don't fool yourself into thinking a wedding ring will change that. It won't. Because without honesty, marriage isn't a partnership, it's just a performance. At first, it feels kind of endearing. They open up about how their ex was awful, how their boss never appreciated them, how their family just didn't understand them. You listen, you empathize, and you think all they need is someone who truly loves them. But here's the catch. With a perpetual victim, the story never changes. No matter the situation, they are always the one being wronged. And sooner or later, guess who joins the list of bad guys? Yep, you. Marriage with a perpetual victim is exhausting. Every disagreement somehow becomes your fault. If you set a boundary, you're just like everyone else who hurts them. If you express your needs, you're being selfish. Over time, you stop speaking up because it's easier than dealing with their endless accusations. The danger here is twofold. First, they never take responsibility, which means they never grow. And second, you end up carrying the entire emotional weight of the marriage. You're not a partner anymore, you're their caretaker, their therapist, their emotional punching bag. Here's the truth. A lasting marriage requires accountability from both sides. Without it, every problem will just repeat in cycles. Same fight, different day, same outcome. And you'll always be left feeling guilty even when you've done nothing wrong. So before you say, "I do," ask yourself, do they own their mistakes or do they always play the victim? Because a marriage can survive many storms, but it cannot survive a partner who refuses to take responsibility. Love may conquer many things, but let's be honest, it won't pay the bills. And nothing stresses a marriage faster than money problems. That's why marrying someone who is financially irresponsible is like signing up for a lifetime subscription to anxiety. At first, it might even seem fun. They're spontaneous, they live in the moment, they never stress about saving. They'll splurge on trips, gadgets, and fancy dinners, and you think, wow, they're so generous. But once the honeymoon glow fades, you're left with unpaid credit cards, mounting debt, and zero plan for the future. Financial irresponsibility comes in many flavors. The compulsive spender, the gambler, the one who hides debts, or even the dreamer who always says, "One day I'll make it big," but never actually builds stability. And while dating them might feel like an adventure, marrying them is like strapping yourself to a sinking ship. The truth is, financial trust is just as important as emotional trust. Marriage isn't just romance, it's also mortgages, rent, retirement savings, maybe even kids' tuition someday. If your partner can't handle money wisely, the weight of responsibility will fall on your shoulder. And here's the worst part. Money fights often aren't about money at all. They're about broken promises, stress, and resentment. When you're covering for their mistakes month after month, it's not just your wallet that suffers, it's your heart. So before you walk down the aisle, look beyond the romance. Ask yourself, can this person build a future with me, or are they spending away our tomorrow? Because a lasting marriage needs more than love. It needs stability. Dating a commitment phobe can feel like riding a roller coaster, thrilling, unpredictable, and just a little bit dangerous. They're exciting in the beginning, full of charm, passion, and spontaneous, "I can't get enough of you" energy. But the moment the relationship starts to feel serious, it's like you just mentioned Voldemort at Hogwarts, pure panic. They'll say things like, "Do we really need labels?" Or, "Let's just go with the flow." Translation, I want all the fun of being with you without any of the responsibility that comes with marriage. Here's the problem. Marriage is literally the definition of commitment. It's about saying, "I choose you every day, no matter what." And if someone can't handle even the idea of exclusivity or long-term planning, that makes you think they'll suddenly transform into a responsible spouse after the wedding? Spoiler alert, they won't. With a commitment phobe, you end up stuck in limbo. Not fully single, not fully secure, just waiting. Waiting for them to be ready, waiting for them to figure things out. Meanwhile, your life is on hold and your heart is paying the price. The truth? You deserve someone who chooses you fully. Not someone who keeps one foot out the door. Because marriage isn't about almost, maybe, or someday. It's about now. So before you say, "I do," ask yourself, am I marrying someone who's all in or someone who's just halfway here? Because lasting marriage can't be built on hesitation. In the beginning, being with a self-centered person can feel exciting. They're confident, charismatic, always the life of the party. You might even think, wow, they really know what they want. But give it some time and you'll notice a pattern. Everything revolves around them. Their career, their dreams, their problems, always front and center. And your needs? They get pushed to the side like yesterday's leftovers. In marriage, this dynamic becomes unbearable. Why? Because marriage is supposed to be a team effort. Sometimes it's about you. Sometimes it's about them. But most of the time, it's about both of you together. When one partner constantly treats the marriage as a one-person show, the other slowly disappears. You'll find yourself clapping for their wins, comforting them in their lows, rearranging your life to fit theirs. But when it's your turn to need support, silence. At best, you get a distracted, "Oh, that sucks." At worst, they spin the conversation back to how your struggles affect them. The danger here is subtle but deadly. You start shrinking. You convince yourself your needs aren't important, that asking for reciprocity is too much. But love that forces you to erase yourself isn't love, it's neglect. A lasting marriage can't survive on one person's ego. It needs give and take, not take and take. So before you say yes to forever, ask, does this person make room for me or just expect me to orbit around them? Because marriage should make you feel like a partner, not a prop in someone else's spotlight. On paper, they look perfect. They've got a good job, they're responsible, maybe even charming. But when it comes to emotional connection, it's like talking to a locked door. You try to open up to share your feelings and all you get back is silence. Or worse, you're overthinking. Emotionally unavailable people aren't always cold on purpose. Sometimes they've been hurt before, sometimes they've never learned how to communicate feelings. But here's the tough truth. In marriage, emotional walls are deal breakers. Why? Because marriage isn't just about paying bills together or posting cute anniversary photos. It's about building intimacy, the kind where you can cry, laugh, dream, and argue honestly, knowing you'll still be safe in each other's arms. Without that vulnerability, marriage becomes nothing more than two roommates sharing a roof. And the cost is heavy. You'll feel lonely even when they're sitting right next to you. You'll crave connection while they keep retreating into silence or distraction. Over time, your needs feel like a burden and your heart starts to wither from neglect. Here's the bottom line. Love without emotional availability is like a phone with no signal. No matter how shiny it looks, it simply won't connect. So before you tie the knot, ask yourself, can this person truly meet me in vulnerability, or do they always shut down? Because a lasting marriage isn't built on walls, it's built on trust, openness, and the courage to be seen. So there you have it, 7 types of people who simply can't build a lasting marriage. The control freak, the chronic liar, the perpetual victim, the financially irresponsible, the commitment phobe, the self-centered one, and the emotionally unavailable. Each of them might be fun to date, even intoxicating to fall for. But marriage? That's a whole different game. Because marriage isn't just about fireworks and butterflies, it's about building a life side by side. And if your partner can't meet you with honesty, accountability, stability, and vulnerability, then what you're building isn't a marriage. It's a ticking time bomb. And here's the truth. Spotting these patterns before you walk down the aisle could save you from years of pain and maybe even from signing divorce papers one day. Remember, saying yes at the altar should never mean saying goodbye to your freedom, your voice, or your happiness. If you find yourself with one of these types, don't fall into the trap of thinking marriage will change them. It won't. People don't magically transform when the rings go on. They either bring the right tools to build a lasting partnership or they don't. I want to hear from you. Have you ever dated or even married one of these types? What did the experience teach you about love and commitment? Share your story in the comments. And if this video gave you clarity, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more conversations about love and relationships. Because at the end of the day, a lasting marriage isn't about finding the perfect person, it's about finding the right partner who chooses to build with you every single day.